Hello vinyl community, Happy New Year. Somehow or other I gained about 100 subscribers over Christmas and New Year. Not sure how that happened, but glad to have you on board. Hopefully today you'll see something that you enjoy and you'll stick around. It's that time of year when vinyl tags come around. It's what first got me into doing videos on YouTube, and yeah, it's come up to a year since I started doing that, and it's been fun. So anyone who's thinking about doing a video, jump in. It's well, you won't regret it. Okay, so Rob Walker has provided the questions for this year's vinyl tag. Well, him and others, but I'll deal with Rob's first, might get around to some of the others later. And he set 22 questions. I don't know whether that's because it's 2022. Does that mean that we're going to have 99 questions in 2099? I don't know. These get longer and longer, but I'll try and keep it as brief as I can in my sort of waffling style, and start with question 1. So first question is favourite album purchased in 2021. I should say some of these you've seen before, or a couple of them. Most of them you won't have done on my channel. But this one you definitely have. It was in my last video. And it's Turin Breaks, the Optimist LP, which is one of my all-time favourite LPs. If you want to know more about it, watch my last video. I'll talk about it at more length there, but thoroughly recommended. And yeah, just the best album I bought last year, I think. Question 2. Show a record of the first artists I saw live. And again, I've mentioned before, first band I ever saw live was Judas Priest. And this is the album they were touring at the time, Point of Entry, which is not their best album, although it's not nearly as bad as some people would have you believe. There's some great tracks on here like Desert Plains, Solar Angels. And I love the band when I first saw them in 1981, and I still love them. Great band. Then question 3 is show a duo, and I thought about Hall & Oates and Simon & Garfunkel and a bunch of other duos, but really they're not duos. They're the guys who've got names on the album cover, but they're backed by a bunch of other musicians. So I thought, who is a true duo? And I thought of Attila. Now this was the band that Billy Joel formed before he became a solo artist. Obviously being in a band with one other person was just a bit claustrophobic for him, so he went solo. And this is an insane heavy metal album, really. It's heavy metal played on just organ and drums. And the critics hate it, but the people who own this album tend to love it just because it's so absurd. And it is really heavy, and you don't miss the guitars. You don't miss any of the normal attributes of a full band. So, a true duo, Attila. And some great facial hair there on Billy. Question 4. Show an album still in the shrink. Well, I wasn't sure whether this meant still sealed, and I don't have any sealed albums because if I buy an album I want to play it. I'm not somebody who stores albums for their kind of collectability or as an investment. Good to have albums that are worth something, but I want to play them. It's about the music. But I do have some which are still in the shrink, although not sealed. I thought I'd show Tommy James and the Shondells Cellophane Symphony. Still in the shrink, in the cellophane. I think I should get extra points for coming up with that. Decent album. I think it's probably about as psych as Tommy James got. Title track's about 9 minutes of pure psychedelia, and it's worth getting this album for that reason alone. Then question 5 is show a concept album. Well, this is one I bought last year, knew nothing about it, saw it in my local record store, and the guy behind the counter knew nothing about it. I took a punt on it, and it's Western Justice by Jack Riley and Michael Botman, and they're kind of Dutch, I think they're Dutch, perhaps with some American blood in their veins as well. and I can't quite follow the concept on this, but it's basically built around the idea of if the tables were turned and all the third world countries actually got to profit from their natural resources, what the world would be like if the West was suddenly, poor and the third world was rich. You wouldn't know from listening to the album that the subject matter was so heavy, because it's a really beautiful Beach Boys-esque album. It really is. And it's hardly surprising, because Jack Riley was responsible for co-writing some of the material on the Beach Boys Holland album. And if that album floats your boat, this will as well. It's very much in that style. Quite overblown in places, but absolutely fantastic. And some great packaging, including a full colour lyric book. I'm sure it can be had cheaply. I picked it up for a tenner. No regrets there. Great album. And next question, was it? Show an album you haven't played yet. I've got one or two. This one I only bought just after Christmas. I was up in Manchester. Went to King B Records up there, one of my favourite record shops, and picked this up for £3. Andy Summers' XYZ album. Or XYZ, I guess it is, seeing he's English. And I love The Police. I love the album he did with Robert Fripp. And I haven't played it yet just because I haven't got around to it. And I've also read some reviews which say it's not that great. He attempts to sing on it and his voice isn't too great. And he tries to go full on pop on this. But that's what other people have said. I may well love it. But Andy Summers, XYZ. Question 7 is a discovery from last year. Again, this is something I've shown in my last video. Nolan Potter, Music is Dead. Don't need to say any more about this. It's very much, he's very much a one-man band in that sort of McCartney, Emmett Rhodes sort of style, and comes highly recommended. Question 8 is show a live album. I'm spoilt for choice, but I thought I'd show something that I've not seen on the VC before. And I was playing this the other day and just thought, what a great album. And it's Lenny Kravitz, live in Amsterdam. Now this was released as a very limited promo in 1991, but it was recorded in 1989, just after his first album. And he's playing to a crowd that is lapping up his music, and they are so into it. It's a really great document of him touring at that time. And Lenny Kravitz was one of these acts, and there are a few of them who are built up by the UK media, are touted as the next big thing, and as soon as they get big, they get knocked down and are made to feel like they're some kind of, at best, a guilty pleasure. And Lenny Kravitz is great. He got criticised by the media for having the Beatles and Jimi Hendrix as his influences. He wore them on his sleeve, but so what? He did it so well. He does it so well. And this is a superb album. I bought this on eBay in 2014 and I looked it up. I paid 99 pence for this, and you'd struggle to get a copy for under 50 quid now. So it's another reason for it being such a great purchase. And question 9 is a record bought, I've written here, record from a different continent, not bought from a different continent, from a different continent. And I thought I'd go with Asia, with Japan. And this album, Umbra by the Boom Boom Satellites. And this was a blind buy years ago. I can't remember what years it came out, about 2007 I think. And it's basically a duo of Japanese guys who enlist the help of a brass section and various other musicians. And they themselves play guitar and bass, provide a few vocals here and there, and do a lot of programming. So it's basically, I guess it's a dance album, a techno album. But there's one standout track on here. I mean, it's all good, if that's what you're into. But there's one track called Brand New Battering Ram, which sounds as if it is an outtake from Bitches Brew. It's utterly incredible. It's hard to tell where the programming ends and the live musicians begin, because they are seamlessly joined together. Live drums on it, which are very exciting. The horns are processed in that way Miles Davis did with his trumpets, or played through echo unit, and it's an incredible track. So find it online, listen to Brand New Battering Ram by Boom Boom Satellites. You won't regret it. It's great stuff. Question 10. Is a record with a price sticker still on it? Well, first thing I do when I buy a new record, take off a price. Don't like price stickers on things. I don't want it to be a product. I want it to be a piece of art in my collection, whether it's a book or a record or whatever. The exception is when it's a second-hand record and it's got an interesting, vintage sticker on it, which may have the shop name on it or something like that. So not too many records in my collection have stickers on them still, apart from hype stickers. But I dug out this, which is my Zombies compilation, with the original price sticker on there. £2.83 for a 2-record set. Seems like a bargain. And it is, because this is a great compilation. It's got all their early hits on the first disc, and on the second disc it's Odyssey and Oracle. So I don't have a separate copy of Odyssey and Oracle. Don't need it. This has all that material on there in the original running order, and it's a fantastic compilation. Not easy to track down now, but certainly cheaper than tracking down an original Odyssey and Oracle. Then question 11 is a punk or a new wave album. Well, toyed with a few ideas, came up with Urban Verbs and their early Damage album. And this band, I think, was out of Washington DC. Came out in 1981, and it's very much in that kind of post-punk new wave sort of style. But there's tons of echoing, effects-laden guitar on here. It's almost like a spacey, psych-tinged Talking Heads in places, with almost Billy Duffy type guitar playing on it, spacey synths, and it's a really, really good listen. So that one's recommended. Number 12 is Show a Box Set. I think I said before, I don't have a huge number of box sets. And I'm not even sure this counts because it's not a box, it's more of a hardback book. But it does contain a number of different elements. And that's The Feelings, Boy Cried Wolf album. I love The Feeling. They're another one of those bands that the UK press decided to knock down after they got successful, because they again show all their influences on their sleeves. Lots of UK pop influences from the 70s, Pilot, 10cc, Supertramp, ELO, bit of Queen here and there, which makes them right up my street really. Big harmonies, great tunes. Their first album, 12 Stops and Home, is my favourite, but this is a really good later album. And this comes in this very handsome hardback book. It's got the vinyl tucked in there. It's got all the sort of notation for playing the songs if you are musically inclined. And then it has CD of the album, a CD of outtakes, including some mucking about in the studio by the band playing sort of heavy metal songs, and a DVD. So that is my kind of box set. Where are we? Number 13, a record with a sporting theme. I've gone with the Duckworth Lewis method and their album Sticky Wickets. And for those of you who aren't, well, for those of you American basically, cricket it's kind of our baseball, I suppose. It's one of those sports. It's very British, although we're not very good at it anymore, as the recent Ashes series has proven. But this is a fantastic album. It's the second album by Duckworth Lewis Method, and it's Thomas Walsh from Pugwash and Neil Hannon from The Divine Comedy. It's their kind of side project. And there they are on the inside of the sleeve. And the whole album, or both their albums, are completely cricket themed. The two of them are cricket mad, and all their songs are about cricket. Don't let that put you off if you don't follow cricket or know nothing about cricket. You don't have to. And the name of the band, even, Duckworth Lewis Method, I had to look this up. It's a cricketing term. Apparently it's a mathematical formulation designed to calculate the target score for the team batting second in a limited overs match interrupted by weather or other circumstances. You'd have to be a fan to know that. But there you go. Sporting themed album. Number 14 is a jazz album. I thought I'd show this. Bought this last year as well. Mike Westbrook. And it's a live rendition of his Citadel Room 315 album, which I also have here. And this was actually recorded first, because it was a commission that Mike Westbrook received from someone in Sweden. Wanted him to perform over there and to create a new piece of music, especially for the performance. And he did this with the Swedish radio jazz group, and it's great stuff. It's almost like Duke Ellington style big band brought into the 1970s. You know, so there's guitar on here, and you know, definitely can feel those sort of rock elements creeping in, but it's done in that big band style. And it was re-recorded as a studio album the following year using UK musicians. So great stuff. Next up is a best of album. And to me, I'm not somebody who keeps on to holds on to greatest hits albums, because if I like a band, I pretty much want to get everything they've got, everything worthwhile that they've done. But some best of albums, they capture what a band is about so perfectly that I have to keep them in my collection as well. One of those is this Bee Gees album, Greatest, which just covers the sort of, I suppose, the disco era, the glitterball Bee Gees. And it's Jive Talking, Night Fever, Tragedy, More Than a Woman, all the great, cheesy, beautifully produced, fantastically played hits. And I love all eras of the Bee Gees. They're just a classic band. So this is thoroughly recommended. It's a double album. This is a promo copy. They get extra points for making it a tri-fold sleeve. I'm not sure that Robin Gibb gets any points for the lip gloss he's wearing there. Great compilation. And question 16, an LP sleeve with at least 8 people on the cover. Well, this definitely qualifies. It's the Polyphonic Spree, and I haven't tried counting how many people are there, but that is the band. And I did check to see if any of those people were kind of photoshopped back into the lineup, but that's all separate band members. So yep, definitely more than 8 there. Polyphonic Spree, again, they were huge in the UK for a while. The beginning stages of the Polyphonic Spree, I think, was their first album, and I saw them live a couple of times around that era, and they were great live, and they're still going, I believe, but they've kind of slipped off the radar a little bit, but good band. Question 17 is a soundtrack. First Blood, and music by Jerry Goldsmith on this one, and it's proper orchestral score on this. Great stuff, but also has the big song. It's a Long Road, sung by Dan Hill, And I love that song. I love the film. Great, great film. Seen it so many times. And when I listen to this record, I can picture which scenes would be on the screen if I was watching the film at the same time. It's very evocative. Great cover art. Love it. Cheesy, but good stuff. Question 18 is show some VCLT. Well, you know what? I've never got any VCLT. But hey, I've been given presents. Does that count? My very good friends, Ali and Rob, for my 50th birthday, which was years ago, got me this fantastic Led Zeppelin BBC Sessions box set. 5 LPs, great booklet. You know, something I probably wouldn't have stumped up to buy myself. So very, very happy to have that in my collection. It's incredible. Number 20, no, number 19 even, is an album with no writing on the cover. This is harder than I thought, because without going through my entire collection, looking at them one by one, I can't remember which ones do and don't have writing. Yeah, I thought about Led Zepp 4, but everyone thinks about Led Zepp 4, so that wasn't going to happen. And then I remembered this. And this was a band called Big Linda. Promo copy. And I have to say, if you're not going to put any writing on your cover, you probably need a more interesting bit of cover art than that. I mean, they're not monsters or anything, but neither are they pretty boys. So I'm not quite sure how they thought that was going to appeal to the record buying public. And to be honest, I bought this album very cheap because Classic Rock magazine was raving about Big Linda at one time, and I saw it. I thought, well, let's see what the fuss is about. I cannot remember a thing about it. I think I played it once and never played it again, which probably means I should give it another spin. Maybe I'm missing something. Works that way sometimes, doesn't it? So, Big Linda, and I think it's just called. Oh no, it's called I Loved You, but you wouldn't know that because it doesn't say anything on the cover. Question 20 is a 7-inch single. This is one I picked up recently. I've had the album that this came from for years, and this is a standout track on it, Robot Tourist. And of course I didn't need the single, got it on the album, but it's just a lovely thing, isn't it? And I particularly like the fact they've made a robot out of mic stands and cabs and amps there, just in case you don't know what a robot looks like. And this, they get described as sort of alternative and indie, but to me they're a rock band, and this sounds like a cross between that sort of stoner desert rock that Brant Bjork and Kyuss and people do, mixed with sort of Gary Glitter glam stomp. Great, great song. Great. 21. Show a coloured vinyl album. Well, this is probably the only reason I would ever show this album, because it's not something you boast about having in your collection. Not that it's a bad album, just because it's so common that... Does anyone else need to see another copy of it? Frampton Comes Alive? I mean, yeah. If you don't have this in your collection, you probably have had at some point and got rid of it. But did you have it in that coloured vinyl? Now that's worth having, isn't it? That is proper bubblegum coloured vinyl. So I spin it every now and again. It's not a bad album. And sometimes I'm in the mood for it. More often than not, I'm not. But hey. And question 22. The final question is an album from 1982. And plenty to choose from. And I was thinking about going with something really hip and cool, which would show what cutting edge taste I've got. Instead, I went for Toto and their album 4, which, to be honest, it's probably one of the greatest albums that was released in 1982. Easy to knock this, almost clinical, pristinely produced, music played by guys who basically are session musicians, but it is so good. If you love Steely Dan, more than likely you'd love this album because it's similarly pristine, and it's got so many songs that you would want if you're in that mood for slick 80s AOR. You know, Rosanna, Africa, I Won't Hold You Back. What a great album to finish on. So there you go. That's my vinyl tag response to Rob Walker's vinyl tag of 2022. Hope to be back with another vinyl tag soon. Thanks again to all of you who've subscribed and those of you who've stuck around. Happy New Year. See you soon. Bye.